Carrying nothing but a scraping knife and a flint pouch, Duncan and the escaped slave woman ran for their lives. A demon was tracking them. Duncan tripped over a tree root and fell face first into the dirt. "Get up! You saw what it did to Benjamin!" the woman pleaded. She was right. The demon had used one talon to rend the man named Benjamin from his crotch to his neck with a single stroke. Bile came up Duncan's throat at the mere thought of it. As part of the Underground Railroad, he had dealt with slave traders, unscrupulous militia, tax collectors, and the trackers known as paddy rollers, but never such as this. Sent to Richmond, Virginia to pick up a load of willow bark for his father's small tannery on the south side of Boston, Duncan knew there was always an element of risk. Not for the bark, but for what their cart transported in a secret compartment underneath the floorboards. Escaped slaves. Duncan, having just turned 20, had taken the route many times with his older brother Jonah. This time, however, Jonah's wife was bearing their first child, and he refused to leave her side. Their mother had rolled her eyes at her love-struck son, but respected his wishes. The family had decided that Duncan should take the trip without him, as various tax collectors and militiamen were accustomed to seeing them on a regular basis, and they feared their absence would be noticed. They were also worried that if no one went, any slaves that had escaped and managed to get to the waypoint would be caught and killed. Duncan stood up and noticed the woman's shadow in the fading sun. At almost 6 feet tall, the young woman's head reached his nose. She looked to be around his age. Sweat and humidity made her light brown cotton skirt and blouse stick to her skin, while her obsidian hair peeked out of an indigo-dyed scarf. The color set off her high cheekbones and bright eyes. They held intelligence and something else. A drive, a passion, a force of will. She sucked in her breath. "There be a bog nearby?" "A marsh, mile or so east," Duncan replied in a light Irish brogue. "We go there." Duncan struggled to keep up as the woman took off in a sprint. The MacGuire family was but one of several in Boston who aided those who longed for freedom. There were a few Middle District families who helped the cause by gifting the MacGuires with horses, carts, and items that were needed on the road. Though they had more wealth than Duncan's family, their social standing restricted their movements and subjected them to more scrutiny. The MacGuires were their link to a network that stretched from Georgia to the Queen's Canada. If Duncan were caught, one link would be shattered. Low branches whipped across his face as he ran after her. His lungs seared in pain and his throat constricted. Every muscle cried out in agony, but he could not stop. He had seen the hatred behind the demon's molten iron eyes and knew it brought torment, then death. He prayed that whatever the woman planned was going to work. The sun had buried itself in the orange-brown horizon by the time Duncan realized the bottom of his woolen pants were wet. He stopped and saw the woman shove her way through reeds and floating logs into a deeper portion of the marsh. A night heron flew away in protest at the intrusion, but otherwise it was quiet. She gestured him to follow her. Not knowing what else to do, he obeyed. The odor of dead carrion wafted up behind them. Duncan turned to look, but caught only a glimpse of something shimmering and fading into the forest. The woman grabbed the front of his shirt, dragging him underwater. At first he struggled, but soon understood her intent. The water, though cool and dark, stung the cuts on his face. Duncan let out small bubbles of air and tried to remain as still as possible. She took his hand, and they half swam, half pulled their way through the murky marsh. Just when he thought his lungs would burst, she shoved him upward.